don't buy these homes. In today's video, we're going to be talking about what kind of homes, in my opinion, you should be avoiding. Welcome back to the channel, guys. My name is Ramon Lomeli. I'm a local realtor and the team leader of the Smart Move Group, brokered by eXp Realty here in Winston Salem, but we've got connections literally all over the state. In today's video, we're going to be talking about what kind of homes to avoid if you're moving to the Winston-Salem area, or really generally speaking, a lot of these apply everywhere. Now, this is going to be more of an opinion-based video, so I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of interesting comments in the comment section, but I do encourage those, so let me know what you guys have to say. And the reason that I wanted to make this video for you guys today is that, well, because I've been licensed for over a decade, I've sold hundreds of homes in Winston-Salem and the surrounding areas, and these are some common types of homes in these areas that I would like for you to avoid if you can. Let's waste no more time. Let's get into the first one. The first kind of home that I think you should avoid is going to be a Cape Cod style home. Now, don't get me wrong, I've lived in a Cape Cod home, I've sold many, and they are very pretty to look at, but there is something, one major thing, a couple things, but one major thing that I have a problem with Cape Cod homes. They've got really good curve appeal, they got interesting roof line with the dormers there, they've got usually a really nice porch, sometimes even a wraparound porch, and oftentimes in Winston-Salem you find them in some very nice neighborhoods. But listen, the main reason why I have a problem with Cape Cod style homes is because in the summertime it is going to be so hot in the upstairs, no matter how far down you crank your AC unit. And that's simply because of the style of construction, the way the bedrooms are actually built into the attic. It was made that way to kind of save money, and it was a smart way of doing it. However, down here it gets too hot in the summertime for it to be having all that. I'm sure you guys have walked into your attic a time or two and felt how hot an attic can be. Well, just imagine having two bedrooms up there. Now, obviously you do have, vents, HVAC up there, you're cooling the area, you're cooling the space, but usually the thermostat is just one thermostat, it's downstairs. So once it gets to like 69 or 68 or whatever you have it on the cool setting downstairs, it's going to cut off. However, upstairs it's still 79 or 82. So you're going to need another AC unit or some kind of supplemental AC system like those mini splits, or maybe you have window units, which are not great looking, but at least it's a solution, or you just make it a sauna up there. Now, if you end up finding a Cape Cod style home in a lovely neighborhood with the best school district and it's affordable and everything else matches what you're looking for, I'm not saying stay away from it. I'm just saying be aware that in the summertime it's going to be warm in those rooms. Moving on to number two, I'm sure I'm going to get a little bit of hate on this one, but I would not recommend buying a home with a closed off floor plan. Now, I will say that I've been noticing that the trend is kind of going away from open floor plans. We've been doing open floor plans for like 15 years, it feels like now. So a lot of people are going back to the more traditional style of home, but I have my reservations with that. One of the main reasons is that I personally love natural light. And when you have a home up with a lot of walls, a lot of doorways, a lot of hallways, you're gonna just be limiting the amount of light that can reach the entire home. Also, closed off spaces feel smaller as open floor plans. One of the reasons that open floor plans are so popular is that everything just seems so much bigger. For example, I have a dining room in the front part of, as soon as you walk into my house, the dining room's on the left. We never use that room. It's so far away. The rest of my house is open, but we just have like a closed off dining room at the front of the house. That's where our Amazon packages go. That's where the dog bowls are, but we never go into that room because then we have a dining room table and everything that we spent good money on, but we're never in there. We eat on the island in the kitchen, but we just don't, so it's because it's so closed off. If it was, that space could have been way better used if it was in the main area of the home, but that's kind of more of a opinion-based thing. Also, I have a huge social battery and I love to entertain, so I love having people over. So if I have a closed off floor plan, it's not going to be very conducive to, having a little house party. Moving on to number three, today we're going to talk about split foyer homes. I don't love split foyer homes. They're definitely not my favorite. I've lived in one. Unfortunately, it's one of the most common homes that you're going to see in North Carolina, and I'm sure you've seen one of these wherever you're from. Now, the reason they're so popular is because it's quite economical to build them that way. You're kind of in the middle of building a one-story and a two-story home because you walk in and you have flight steps going down, have a flight steps going up. But this is more of a personal thing. I've been in so many. I can close my eyes. If you have a split foyer home, I can literally close my eyes, walk up the steps, and then turn right or left if it's mirrored, and walk into the living room, and then the kitchen's on the other side, and then the three bedrooms. There's a hall bath. Like the floor plan is so common. I've been in so many of them. I'm just tired of them. They're so common. I've seen them so many times. That, and even though you're only technically have half a flight of steps up and half a flight of steps down, you still have half a flight of steps to get to the front door. So it's really like a full flight of steps if you think about it. The floor plan is just so common, and maybe I'm just lazy, but I don't love those split foyer floor plans. Now, once again, kind of like the Cape Cod style of homes, if you see a split foyer or a split level floor plan or style of home, and it's in the right neighborhood, it's got this close to your work, close to whatever you need it to be, fantastic. I'm not saying avoid it. I'm just saying be aware that you're going to be walking up a lot of stairs every day, and that floor plan can get kind of boring, and I'm going to judge you. No, I'm just kidding. But it's just a personal preference at that point. I would just not buy a split foyer floor plan. The next part of this list is definitely going to be a little bit more, well, interesting. We'll get to that in a second. Before we get into it, though, I do want to remind you that if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, the number on the screen, that's my personal cell phone number. It goes to no one else but me. It's right here. You can call me, you can text me, or you can even shoot me an email. My full contact info is going to be in the about section of this video, including my social media handles in case you want to be my friend on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. I'm on all of those. And the reason you might want to be my friend on there, obviously I'm a great person to follow. That's a joke. But I do a lot of local content. So if you want to know what it's like to do things, places to eat, things to see, things to do in the Winston-Salem area, definitely check out those social media handles. I'm also going to leave a link for you that's going to have homes that are currently for sale in this area. And I wouldn't be able to call myself a YouTuber if I didn't ask you to hit that like button, leave me a comment, but above all, subscribe, because honestly, that really does keep me motivated to keep pumping out these videos for you. All right, now we're going to talk about homes with oil heat. Believe it or not, there are still homes out there that have oil heat. And believe it or not, a lot of those systems are actually still functional, still up and running, and the owners have just never really bothered to change them. So they're still out there. I'd probably say about 50% of homes that originally had oil heat have been converted to something more modern, but trust me, they're still out there. Now, this is also crazy. I actually know some people. I've sold homes to some people that prefer the oil heat. They like the smell of it, which is kind of weird, the way it makes the house smell, I guess. And also, it's a very specific, kind of like some people like the fireplace smell. So it's a little weird, but whatever. But also, oil heat actually heats up the home really quickly. Like it's burning an actual oil, which, there's a big fire and a fan and a blower blowing out hot air throughout the house. So it's actually quite quick at heating up a house. And if it snowed more, I think we'd probably see more of it, but it just doesn't snow enough. It doesn't get that cold here for it to be worth it to put up with the oil heat. Now, there's a few reasons why I would never buy a home with oil heat. Number one, if you have a home with oil heat, 99% of the time, you're talking about a home that has an outdated, HVAC system, which is on its last leg, or, it's an older system for sure. Number two, oil heat is very expensive. And number three, not only is it expensive, but actually the price fluctuates kind of like gas does. And then another reason is that whenever you don't know, unless you go out there and check, you don't know how much oil you have left until you run out. Then you call the company can't come for 3 days, and they're not going to come to put $10 of oil in your thing. They want a minimum of $250 or $200, depending on the company, that comes out and puts the oil in there. And so now there's a potential that you could be without heat in your home because you forgot to check the tank. Now, realistically, those big drums, they don't last for 1 month. They last for quite a while, depending on your usage and how big your home is and how efficient the system is running. But you're not going to be filling it up every month, but it is quite expensive. So don't buy a home with oil heat unless you know what you're doing, you prefer it, or you can negotiate for them to switch it out to a more conventional, newer HVAC system. Another type of home that I would never buy is going to be a home with a steep driveway. And trust me, North Carolina, at least our part of North Carolina, we are very hilly. It adds to the beauty and the nature of it here, but also it makes building a home not the easiest thing in the world. So a lot of times we see homes with either an incline or a decline towards the front door, and honestly, I would buy neither. So one reason why I wouldn't buy a home with a incline or decline, or a home with a steep driveway, I should say, is because of, what if we get inclement weather and it snows or we get a little ice? You're going nowhere fast. If you have a incline in your driveway and you're trying to get out for work, you're gonna be going halfway up that hill and coming back down. Or even worse, if you get home and it snowed or there's ice, you're not gonna make it up that driveway unless you've got four-wheel drive, which a lot of people actually do. Another reason is that it actually adds to the wear and tear of your vehicle. So you know, that's going to be something that's small, but it adds up over time. Maybe your transmission, maybe your brakes, they're going to wear down a little bit faster. Another reason is that a lot of times homes with steep driveways come with drainage issues because, you know, if the driveway's pointing this way, the hill that's going towards your house is probably going that way too. And where's all that water running? Another reason is that it's going to be less than desirable when you go to sell your home. Everyone's going to be like, oh, beautiful home, but that steep old driveway, how am I going to get my Honda Civic up there? Now, on the contrary, hey, listen, you got a four-wheel drive car, maybe you don't care about a steep driveway. Also, the level of how steep it is has a factor, and then inclement weather. I mean, it hasn't snowed, or really snowed actually in a few years, but I think we've gotten ice a couple years ago, but it usually melts by the morning. So it's one of those things where hopefully it's not going to be a headache every single day, but let's prevent issues where we can avoid them. I know you guys are going to fight me on this next one, but I would never buy a ranch style home. And that's really funny because not only have I sold a ton of ranch style homes, they're one of the most common floor plans in North Carolina, probably in the South. Now, there are variations of the ranch style floor plan. However, most of them follow kind of the same floor plan, which is less than desirable, I'll say. Essentially, a ranch style home, especially the ones around here, not including those new ranch style homes, we're just talking about the kind of older brick ones that you see all over the place. That's just a big old rectangle. And like many traditional style homes, older homes, it's gonna have a very closed off floor plan. If you live in a ranch style home, especially one of these brick older ones that I'm talking about, you open the front door, you're in the living room, behind it is a dining room, and if you take a right or a left, if you're mirrored, there's gonna be a long hallway in which you'll have one linen closet, one full bathroom, 3 bedrooms. In one of the bedrooms, you may have a half bathroom. You probably don't have 2 full bathrooms. I've been in so many of them, I could walk them blind. I will say though, on the plus side, a lot of times ranch style homes do have a basement, which you could finish off, hopefully, if you have the ceiling height requirements for, you know, another finished living space to kind of get more elbow room in there. They're typically pretty small. And typically you find them like outside of city limits, on the outskirts of town, on a half acre. So you might get a little bit of land with it, but it's just such a common floor plan and it's so closed off and it doesn't have a lot of natural light. And a lot of times they've had to create a place to put the washer and dryer. Sometimes they're in the basement because when these homes were built, washer and dryer in homes was not a big thing or a popular thing, and so they've had to adapt a lot of the floor plans to include a washer and dryer. So it's just a floor plan that doesn't work for me. I don't love it. Now, if it works for you, great, especially if you're looking for something on a one level, something with land, something with a basement for storage or to finish on the future, then you might like a ranch style home. I just can't do it. Another style of home that I would stay away from, but we see all the time in Winston-Salem, are going to be homes on hills. So I'm not just talking about the driveway here, I'm talking about where the house is actually like earth burned into the hill and like the front yard is above the ground, but the backyard is completely underground. We see a lot of those. Once again, Winston-Salem, this area of North Carolina, we're very hilly. We're the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains, so you're not gonna find a lot of like large flat fields here. And the reason that I don't like homes on hills, even though sometimes they're quite aesthetically pleasing, they're quite pretty to look at, but the reason I don't like them is because I've been in too many of them where the basement at very least smells really mildewy because the water is just going through that brick over time. But at worst, it's creating a ton of hydrostatic pressure, which is pushing that foundation wall, that basement wall in, which is obviously a huge and very expensive deal to fix. And honestly, unless you're very proactive about taking care of any water, any erosion, any water going towards the house, it's just a matter of time. Now, obviously, there are things you can do to prevent it, things you can do to help out, but if you're not very vigilant about keeping water or routing water away from your house, then this could be a huge problem. So homes on a hill, unless you are very familiar and experienced with this type of stuff, I would avoid them. Another type of home I would avoid at all costs are going to be homes near projected highways or road expansions, or really any kind of road projects. Now here in Winston-Salem, we have they're building the outer loop here. Parts of it are already completed. A lot of them, there's still a large part of it that's missing, that's being built currently, and it's going to continue to be built. But long story short, it's something that we have to deal with here in Winston-Salem. So a lot of times you go to sell a house and you end up seeing that, hey, the highway is going to be either coming right through your yard. Like there was a house for sale not too long ago where there was going to be a road widening to make it 4 lanes. It was going to take about 50% of the front yard. The house was going to be 10 feet from the road now, which was, pretty scary. So my buyers decided to not go with that house because of that problem. And, there are some people that say, hey, listen, if the highway's coming through nearby, not over your house, but, maybe quarter mile down the road, and then it's going to be a positive because it's going to be a commercial area with more traffic and gas stations pop up, McDonald's pops up, Walmart pops up, and then that whole area becomes commercial because of the amount of traffic. So your property could be worth more as a commercial property, right? So that's one way of thinking of it. But honestly, for the most part, that could be a very long time if it happens at all. You're going to get a lot more road noise. You're going to get a lot more traffic if your house isn't completely taken over by whatever, eminent domain roadway that they're building through there. So that's just one thing to consider. So yeah, if you're going to be buying a home in Winston-Salem or North Carolina, make sure there's no NCDOT projected highways going through there or road widenings or any kind of thing that might affect your property. Moving on to the next type of home that I would never buy is kind of along the same vein here, is going to be homes that back up to highways. And this one's pretty obvious, guys. There are a lot of homes that actually have, maybe a line of trees or maybe a sound barrier wall type thing, but behind it is a highway. And not only is that going to be an eyesore, also you're going to be able to hear the highway. So whenever someone goes to buy your house, even if you got the loveliest house on the block and it's well priced and it's got great everything, people are going to get there, they're going to hear the road noise, even though you probably can't even hear it inside because of how well the insulation is nowadays with windows and doors and all that stuff. They're going to be turned off by it. It's just going to be one of those things that no one's going to prefer to live backing up to a highway. And lastly, I would never buy, and honestly, I could change my mind on this one. Let me know if you would, but a historic home. Now, I've been blessed enough to walk many and sell some historic homes over the years here in Winston-Salem. We have a ton of neighborhoods that are registered, nationally registered historic homes. And so it's really cool to see these, well-built 1900s, 1800s craftsmen, or even some mansions, some Georgian, some Victorian homes. They're beautiful. But what I've noticed from all of my clients and all the people selling homes is that unfortunately the older homes, something's always broken, something's always breaking, something always needs to be fixed, and a lot of times they end up being money pits. While yes, they have charm like no other and they have some amazing qualities and they don't build them like they used to and all that good stuff, I get it. Plus the neighborhoods are usually really cool and the people are awesome and they're sometimes close to downtown, and there's all these perks about living in historic homes, but something is always going to be breaking down. So unless you have plenty of money and can expect, kind of give yourself a little financial cushion there for when things break down. And obviously you're doing a home inspection, but it's just one of those things, kind of like in a car, when one window breaks, then you got a wiring problem next, and things have been fixed in this house for hundreds of years or for at least 100 years. So you never know who fixed what and to what quality of worker was there, and so it's just a lot of times becomes a money pit. The other thing about historic homes is that depending on which neighborhood it is and what the rules are with the city, they could limit the way that you fix the exterior. Kind of like an HOA, historic homes have a lot of requirements. You can't put, like a lot of times gutters are a big thing. You can't put modern gutters. You have to put like the old copper ones in certain neighborhoods. Certain style windows you have to keep. You can't, the exterior of the home has to look original to maintain that historic appeal. And you can fix things, but you have to fix them a certain way, which ends up usually being a little bit more expensive, so it's not fun. Also, a lot of these older homes are going to have really tall ceilings, which is awesome to look at, but that's a lot of heating, a lot of space that you're heating there and you're cooling there. Also, they're usually going to have tiny closets. The floor plans are just not as conducive as what we kind of are used to nowadays. So even though I absolutely love historic homes, and I think maybe if the right circumstances line up and then we get a really good home inspection and we get a home warranty and all these other things, I might just get a historic home. But for the most part, especially right now, I would not buy a historic home. That brings us to the end of today's list, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I really appreciate it. Make sure you go watch some more of the videos on the channel. Don't forget to hit that like button, leave me a comment, but above all, subscribe. Don't forget about the awesome links I left you in the about section of this video, and I hope to see you next week.